I swear, when I take a shit and it feels that good, I always wonder if I'm gay.
So it was a solid one, huh?
You're listening to the Bent Motorsports Podcast with the owner of Bent Motorsports, David Beckett, and his crew, Jacob Hunsinger, James Hernandez, and Jake Russo. Listen in as the guys discuss all things motorsports, including tech tips and current shop projects.
We got everybody, well, almost everybody here from the Rubicon, +1. Jake is our +1, Russo, because he didn't want to go on the Rubicon.
I wanted to go. I had other things.
Okay, so you're dismissed from talking. The only people we don't have with us that were on the trail with us is Brian and Carmel and Shauna and Vanessa, right? I got that right? Sorry, you guys. I brain faded on names today. But everybody else is here. We got Keith and Marty and Ken and Brian. And we just wanted to, we did the one podcast from the trail and the audio was less than satisfactory, but we gave it a shot. So we thought we'd get back together one more time because we were planning on doing a podcast every night to go over the trail. But because the audio was so terrible, we're going to do it now after the fact and just kind of reminisce and take everybody through the trip and what we did.
How about we were tired, wanted to drink, hungry.
My Scout was probably broke down.
Yeah, the group was a bunch of drunks.
Drink.
What?
Yeah, we definitely were pushing our friendship to the limits.
What?
By the last day. I mean, the problem is, and we were talking about this at Ken's house the other night, is we're all stressed out. We're all going through this experience, and it's super fun. Don't get me wrong, but we're having some mechanical issues, and you know, tensions are high, and you would think that as friends we would maybe slow down on the pranks and the grab ass, but no, that escalated substantially when people were showing their frustration. It was like, oh, that guy's down. You know, let's help pick him up. No, it was that guy's down. Let's fucking kick him. You know, it was just a ruthless.
Was I on a different trip?
You did. Marty was.
Remember
No, Marty was chill.
It was chill, but it was. We were definitely not. You know,
Hey,
we were.
forgot Eddie.
Oh yeah, Eddie. Eddie's not here.
Blaze?
Blaze, hang on.
Blaze.
I'm writing my notes. Blaze. Sorry, Blaze.
Yogi?
Forgive me, Blaze.
Yogi?
Yogi.
Yogi's not here, but Yogi wasn't on the first podcast.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, Yogi wasn't on the
He
first
went to bed.
podcast, but Yogi's not here too. That's Ken's son. So, let's recap now. We the first day we just actually drove all of our vehicles all the way from San Diego up to Placerville, and we camped at a campsite up there. That was a long day, but it was a good day because we were all worried that the Scout wasn't going to make it, and that thing troopered all day long.
Yep.
In all reality, I mean, the thing drove 600 miles exactly from the taco shop to the campsite.
I think the driver and the passenger were going to tap out before the Scout did on that drive.
Yeah, the Scout.
Yeah, the temperature kept
Right.
tickling. It kept tickling a
Pull over
little.
once, right?
240 tickled 240, and the timing for the stops was good, right? It was like, hey, it's time to stop. All right,
Yeah.
let's get something to eat.
Go to the
think we're good
bathroom,
to go.
fill up with gas.
The driver had more issues, right? On the drive?
Oh,
Contacts
hemorrhoids.
drying out. You were struggling.
Lanes weren't big enough.
Yeah.
That
There-
thing likes to move around, man. Stretch its legs. You know,
Actually, for a 10-hour drive, though, that wasn't bad. I mean,
that wasn't bad.
not at all.
And it was disappointing that I had to run with the heater on in 97-degree weather.
Well, I didn't know
was-
that part.
That was disappointing. But the funny thing about that is we tried it and we made a point to check it out. All right, do you feel a difference with the heater off? And we didn't. It was just fucking hot.
Yeah, it just wouldn't have mattered. Yeah, we had the air conditioner on full blast in my Jeep, but
Me
now,
too.
but Marty had a roof on it. Brian had a roof on it. My Jeep, like Ken's Scout, I didn't have a roof on it, so the AC was like, you're just hot as fuck. There's a side wind at like 100 degrees, and all of a sudden you'd catch a whiff of cold air coming out at you, and you're like, oh, there it is. And you try to lean into it. You're like, there's the cold air, you know, and try to feel a little better about it. But
I was just proud of my right arm tan, man. Caught the sun on both the trip up and the trip down.
Yeah, I was good playing it on my part, man. I was on the correct side of the vehicle. He got baked both days. But then we make it. We camp in the campsite, and we were all, trying to be bear friendly, right? So we're using the bear lockers and doing everything right. And then as we go through this trip, we just didn't give a shit. We were leaving like brats on the freaking barbecue.
That
like,
was hilarious all night. Like everything was out. Not a single thing got put away.
Yeah, we became really loose about that.
Wasn't there a
process.
pizza box put under somebody's bed?
I think we tried. Yeah, we
Talking about
tried talking about that.
We got stink eye at that first campsite. All those campers there. There was no jeepers, no four-wheelers. They were all there
A lot
to
of
enjoy
tree
the
huggers.
nature, and then we roll in with our
The
four
hooligans
by
roll
fours
in.
and Ken's loud ass
Shitty exhaust.
scout.
Everybody,
Stink
Keith
eye.
throwing axes at trees. I mean,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
Total disregard for nature.
Yeah, I
They did
forgot
not
about
like
that.
us.
I should have stuck, but
And then we got on the trail the next morning, and then you can listen to the other podcast, and that kind of recaps that first day. But then we got to that's where we did the podcast, was at Buck Island, that first lake, and then the next day we took off, and day 2, and I think that's where Brian got his first scar. You wanna walk
Yeah,
us through
which
that?
one? When I
Got
tore
his
the
both
mirror
of 'em?
off?
Got
Yeah,
his
either
first
one, I mean.
toe too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, got towed out. Well, that's a little rough, though, right? You wake up. It's like going running without stretching.
Yes.
We rolled right out of camp, right onto the waterfall. I guess that's what they call it,
Yeah, that's
the
what they call it.
waterfalls. And Eddie spotted me. He's like, you can go this way. Everybody came over to watch because I don't know if you watch YouTube videos, but that apparently is the way for everybody to go.
Yeah,
We took the bypass by going around it. But
I didn't.
And then I don't know if Ken.
I made it up that one.
Good.
I didn't hear that.
I didn't realize that was the bypass.
Yeah.
The bypass was tough.
But
The
I think
bypass was no joke.
I
Shauna
told you
had
out
to
of the bypass, actually.
you did.
Shauna had to get towed out of the bypass. So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. That's what I'm saying. If you guys had gone the way I did, you would. You were just too close to the tree, Brian.
Yeah.
Well,
That's the only problem you had. I went
Blaze
to the
ran
right.
up there and said, "Come this way," and he started spotting me.
Yeah, Blaze.
And
good
then I
Blaze.
think Ken yelled at him, so he ran away from me. So I was like, "Okay, I'll get off this by myself."
Yeah,
I didn't
see,
say a
that's
word.
when you backed down, your Jeep shifted a little, and then instead of reaching out and pulling your mirror in, you went a little more, and it just ripped it off.
Yeah, I wasn't warmed up yet.
Yeah, that was the sad part about that day, right? Well, not a sad part. It's interesting, right? We break up camp. We get on the trail at 9 or 9:30 or something, right? Lazy morning, and like 2 hours later, I'd look back and go, "We camped right there. It's like 200 feet away. Like we've gone nowhere in like 2 hours."
It wasn't a lazy morning, though. I was busy.
That's true. We were
Yes.
working on your
We were working on the Scout, trying to see if that transmission fluid belonged to me.
Most morning.
yeah.
and the power.
Yeah.
There was a power steering day.
That was a power steering day. That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Well,
power steering.
one thing I've noticed since we've been back is, you go through, there's been a bunch of YouTube videos through July, right? And
Yeah.
you go back, and now you can pick out every obstacle we did. You know exactly where they are on the trail. And it's really funny to watch the editing now because they'll hit an obstacle, and you're like, man, it took us 3-4 tries to get over that. And all of a sudden, the Jeep is on top of the obstacle and rolling out. You're like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
That didn't happen.
yeah. No, they're editing it to make it look good.
It's also a
it's-
time factor, right?
It's
Yeah.
fun to watch though, because at least now when I'm watching these videos, I put a place with it. Like I know, oh, I've been there. I remember that. And some of it they show when I go, we went through that. Like I don't even remember that. Like I was just so focused on what's next, let's go.
Well, that's because it never ends.
It does. It never ends. So what do you guys think? I mean, we can talk about some of the other stuff, but so that day basically we went from Buck Island all the way to Rubicon Springs, where we camped out on the slabs, and it was super neat. But just overall, do you guys think that it lived up to the hype that we put in our minds for the Rubicon? I mean, how many years, Ken, have you been waiting to go on the Rubicon?
Man, I think I got a 4-wheel drive magazine subscription when I was 16 years old, and
Right.
been reading about it ever since and going, I want to go.
Right.
Talked about it for the first time with a guy in college, and well, this is what you got to do to your rig so that you can make it. And here it is, 30 years later,
Finally did.
finally.
Still didn't make it.
Oh,
Oh.
He
What
made
are you
it.
talking about?
He got
And you weren't there.
He got through the last gatekeeper.
That's
I could have drove the whole way. I just was being environmentally conscious.
No, I think you're out of fluid.
Well, yeah.
There's
You're out of
nobody here
fluid.
that cannot say
no, I
Ken did
was
not
not.
ride in
I
his
had more
Scout
fluid.
from
In the
gatekeeper
truck?
Yeah.
to staging area.
How much?
He rode in his Scout the whole way.
It had to be
No,
a
no.
55-gallon drum, otherwise you weren't going to make it.
No, I still had.
Maybe a gallon.
No,
You
I
had
didn't
the
have a
big
gallon.
quart,
I had
didn't you?
2 quarts. I had 2 quarts left at that point. Oh no, because I had a gallon left. When I stopped, I had at least a gallon left. I had David's gallon left.
I got you a few hundred feet.
It was coming out pretty fast. It was really fun watching Blaze
Oh, it was bad.
follow you and clean
was
up the mess. poor guy.
I would say that
Please.
it was. I mean, it took us 2.5 days to do it. Of course, we were being wise. We're all in our late 40s, right? So we're not being stupid. But it was all of 2.5 days. We had to work for it.
Oh yeah, I unlike you guys, like I have not been dreaming about the Rubicon forever, right? I've only been interested in doing it for like a couple of years. So I was happy to go, and then I was happy how well the Jeep did, because I'm not, I'm sure I cut everything off of that thing and put all new stuff on it. And over the last few trips we've done to Big Bear to test it out, I've had my problems, right? But it was nice that we did work through them all, and it did work, and it wasn't a total piece of shit. So I'm excited about that. And then now Brian's got to get a long arm kit.
Yeah, I want a long arm kit.
Which-
It was very frustrating to watch you go through stuff that I struggled through, and then you just roll over.
Well, I would watch you go through something. For instance, like Cadillac Hill, for instance, right? We're going up Cadillac on the last day, and I'm watching Brian, and I'm just like, God dang, man, he is working that Jeep trying to get up that thing. And then I'd watch Ken go through it. And Brian's Jeep is a Rubicon, but it's got short arms. Ken's is a Scout, so it's leaf springs, and I'm naturally used to watching your Scout not struggle, but look more dramatic than things really are, right? Because it's really tall, it's a lot of weight moving around, it's leaf sprung, there's a lot of action that's happening, right? So
it's true because I rode with you and it was like, oh, it's not soft and plush, and then when we were going down, when you lost the front axle and we were going down that hill, and then we dropped down on one side, I was like, geez, like this is a hell of a lot more movement than we tend to see over there. So it was interesting.
yeah,
It
the
was
pucker
cool.
factor, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly.
his is an e-ticket ride, mine was like the Dumbo ride, I mean. So and then I would get to the obstacle and I'd be like sweating, like, okay, geez, this is gonna be stressful. And then my long arm kit was just like, mop, mop, and I'm like, oh well, fuck, that was okay. That's not too bad.
Yeah, yours looked real smooth coming up.
Yeah, I was
It
stoked.
was nice.
Yeah, I was stoked. And there was one spot I think on Cadillac where you were like, because I had fallen into a rock, and you both were telling me, you got to get the rear end over here, but the front end has to be over here because there was that concrete thing that they had made for runoff.
Right.
And then I just hit the gas and drove right up that huge concrete thing. And I think that's the time Ken looked at me and went, fuck it, and walked away. Like do whatever you want, Dave. Just do whatever you want. And so I was like, okay, cool. It'll go up that. But it was super interesting, the difference with all of our vehicles, Marty's to Carmel and Brian's and Shauna's. Every one of our vehicles had kind of a different line that it needed. So spotting became an interesting issue because you had to think in your head, okay, wait, I'm spotting for a Jeep that's a shorter wheelbase and has short arms. Or I'm spotting for a vehicle that weighs 20 million tons and has leaf springs. Or, you know what I mean? It's different, right? And I think Brian was doing good at switching between vehicles, and then Keith became, spotter extraordinaire in the end there, and ended up hiking the last 15 miles, I think.
It was fun.
It was
a fun
fun.
trail.
I didn't mind it. It was good. I got to drive just a little bit. I thought I was going to tip it once.
Yeah. Oh,
You
is that
were-
the one
you
where
were
I
taking-
jumped? The one where you saw me jump? You drove through that, didn't you? The
No.
sawtooth?
No, Brian and I went down that together. I was like, get me out. I got to spot everybody because I got to watch this.
Got it.
I just wanted to see everybody's face.
That's probably the best way to do it though, to like really see the action and spot everyone. You
That's
know,
true.
like
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
right there in it.
You almost get envious because I see everybody go, and when I saw David tuck, I was like, oh man, the adrenaline he must be feeling right now. I want to feel that.
Yeah.
Like, how did that feel? He's
Well,
like,
that was
"Fucking
that one
sucked."
coming after we went down through where Ken broke his axle, right?
Yeah.
So we came down through that, and then there was, I think I saw on some videos, the guys are calling it sawtooth. So we had to go.
Where
it's
those
basically a
razors
bunch
were?
of jagged rocks that they looks like they had chipped up, and you had to drive over it, and you got sideways on the trail, and the whole Jeep slides to the right towards the drop off, and it's part of the deal, and that's where Keith was telling me, no, go, David. It's just keep going. It's going to do it, and I'd go, and then as soon as it slides, even though you know it's going to do it. You still like, I shit my pants a little right there.
Yeah.
For sure got some pee out.
That was awesome.
And then we drove to the bottom of that and welded up your drive shaft. It was the drive shaft that broke,
Yeah,
not
the
the
axle.
axle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That guy was totally convinced it was an axle.
I didn't know
thought
what
it
it
was
was. I was in front of him. I heard the pop.
I heard
He
it.
was
I heard the
for
pop.
sure- First, he was convinced it was an axle. Then the next guy was convinced that you had loaded up the springs, which you had, and then it jumped because one of the lobes on the tire, when you turned it, it got all the way to your leaf spring. So he thought that it was loading that spring up, and then it had released it. And I saw that happening on the other side, and I was like, okay, maybe it's that. And that's why I was like, well, can we play with the hubs a little bit to see what it is? And at closer look, you could just see because some wonderful man decided to weld like a cast piece to a freaking forged piece of steel, so that always doesn't work very well, and that just snapped, and it was just spinning right inside the housing.
Well,
so.
I mean,
well, unless you use a ready welder, because I think that thing's
Yeah.
fucking permanent now.
it's
awesome.
where they welded it, right? And they didn't have penetration on the thing. So I don't know enough about welding to say, yeah, that's the problem. The problem was it was a bad weld, right? I mean, that thing was when that thing broke free, it was clean, right?
That's very
That
true.
end was
Very,
clean, man.
very true.
They got no penetration on that weld
Yeah.
originally, and that was a donor drive shaft from a rolled vehicle that I bought, pulled the motor and tranny and transfer
And it's
case out
it's
of it.
actually a really heavy duty, well built drive shaft, like the actual spline section and all that. It's a nice drive shaft.
Well, that's what the thing was, a no-brainer to me. It's like, I don't know, it's got to be close to 2 inches in diameter, right? And my stock one is under an inch. So it was like, oh, this one's way better, right? So I'm gonna put this one on.
Was it a plug weld from the
Yeah,
end?
it was
Oh.
a plug weld from the end,
Oh,
and they
yeah,
got
yeah,
no
yeah.
penetration through it.
No.
So
Better now. I think that thing's real. That's not a trail fix. That's a fix.
Stop.
It's a real fix.
Stop fucking around.
Because he's not going to take it out
He needs
and do
to-
anything. He's never taken that out again.
Well, the
a
drive
friggin'
shaft
extra.
shop did, so we should have replaced it then. Tom Woods, man.
but no,
So
there's
Aren't
that's still
those
on, that's on
normally
the table.
balanced? Aren't those normally balanced? No.
Yeah, you
they're
just weld a
always
washer
balanced.
to one side and it's done.
The front one doesn't need to be balanced, man. You don't run highway speeds.
Yeah, that one
Actually,
doesn't.
Actually, I think Brittany and Ian, don't they, on one of their vehicles, I
It's
remember him.
square.
Yeah, they just bought square tubing, one size like diameter smaller, so that it would slide, and then boom, it was done.
And they just throw grease on it and
Really?
good to go. Why
Yeah,
not?
I guess.
It doesn't move until you're off-roading.
But then
until you lock the hubs.
Yeah. So are
Oh.
they do have locking hubs, don't they?
Yeah.
So I was gonna say, if I feel like if you were driving on the freeway with that thing and you didn't have
But-
locking
oh,
hubs,
But
It's gonna vibrate.
he did blow out the rear drive shaft so bad they couldn't. Twice now, I think he said he's had to
You're right.
drive home on the front drive shaft, and he says it's surprisingly balanced. Like it does surprisingly well.
he's
Wow.
not bad. I see his Instagram.
No, but
Not great.
I'm of Jake's mindset in terms of, I still have a little bit of transmission contact with the drive shaft to transmission pan.
Right.
So
So smaller drive shaft.
if I can get a little smaller diameter, help clean that up so I don't have that impact, I think that'll be a good thing.
So let's do an injury report here real quick. So we'll start with Ken since we're talking about Ken. Can you remember?
Can
The
I remember
damage.
the damage, the list?
Let's go
Electric.
damage list here.
All right, well,
Oh.
we left out the Phytech issues. We talked about that on the
On the other
podcast on the trail.
But that's okay. We can say you had fuel injection issues.
But fuel injection issues for sure, and that included the drive up. And I don't know if that day I ran into that guy on the trail where he was Bronco group on the trail indicated that, hey, the problem is heat generated off the motor gives that computer that.
So we're going to try to run a
Hardware.
nice insulator, aluminum plate or riser plate or something between them and
Something.
hopefully try to resolve that. But you had a fuel pump first day.
Yeah, first pump. Yeah, fuel pump first thing, right? And thankfully, we prepped for the event.
Right.
The inline fuel pump was so loud and so awful that we did in tank fuel pump, and David's bright idea was, hey, leave that in there as a spare. And just brilliant.
Earned my keep that day.
That was awesome.
It was so cool.
Awesome.
Send him a bill.
Yeah. Bill's in the mail.
So that was number one, right? Number two, then, well, the
And it was power steering, right?
power steering. That's right, power steering. And then, the tranny was giving us grief, so dropped the skid plate. Let's see, that was
Oh, the
after.
next
No,
day.
That
no,
was
no,
drive shaft,
that was
then
drive shaft,
transmission.
then transmission, and we had no luck with the transmission. Body damage wise, got a couple of fenders. And
a couple is not 4. I guess if you said 2 couple, then yes.
But
I didn't get all
actual,
four.
I'm pretty sure you
I
got
didn't get all
pairs.
four, man.
but I think only
got
2
two
of them were.
pairs.
I think you touched everywhere, but only 2 of them dented in the sheet metal. The
I
rest
may
of
have
them were little
touched everywhere,
scratches.
But part of the problem with that sheet metal damage, the front fender, was because the drive shaft was broken, and I was not willing to hold up the line and get winched out properly.
Yeah,
Instead,
that-
I freaking powered through it. Right, took the damage and
Yeah.
drove through.
Right, that's
So-
true. And the
Hammered.
transmission, everybody, the what it ended up after we got off the trail, as the fluid was pouring out as fast as you could put it in. Even though we had tightened the tail housing, thinking it was coming from there, it ultimately was coming from there. But because it had broke the seal, there was no amount of tightness we could do, and between those, so that's where it was.
And that was a problem from the rebuild, and they had never resolved it, and it just got. I'm sure all the flexing made it worse.
Yeah, and I think
the track.
and what we saw is in the morning it was decent, and as it got really, really hot, the transmission got hot.
And the
It
fluid
got
to be
progressively more
watered.
leaky,
Yes.
and the fluid got thinner, and
Yeah.
it just all was a bad thing. So
And then at the end, somewhere along the line, I bent a spring, bent the right front leaf spring, main leaf,
Yeah.
and then after because that was on day 2,
right,
and then on day
Cadillac
3,
Hill, it killed it.
yeah, day 3, somewhere along day 3, I reversed this. Scout stock has got front shackles, and the same spring right front leaf shackle got reversed on itself. So that
All the way up against the frame,
all the way up
smashed
against, so
the
it's
frame.
that leaf is toast.
So I think that was the winner for the most damage. Was you took the most damage on the trail.
And that had the transmission not been an issue, and maybe that would not have happened, given I don't know where that occurred, but I couldn't have drove it home, I don't think, in that condition.
No, it was pretty bad. Which ultimately you ended up towing it home, which is I think the smart thing to do. So let's say Brian, your Jeep, what did you get?
Well, before I start on mine, have you ever talked about the stickers? Because he said I didn't want to get winched out properly. And the fear we have of
That's
getting
what I was thinking.
the fear we have of getting winched.
So yeah, tell him, Brian. Tell everybody what's up with the stickers.
All right.
With our
so,
kill stickers.
Yeah,
got to
winch
be
kills.
honest. I think we acquired the idea when Marty bought his Jeep. The gentleman he bought his Jeep from, he had stickers of what Marty, a Nissan, a Humvee.
2 discos.
There you go. So this gentleman had little black stickers on the side of his plane or on the side of his Jeep, just like the old World War II
like
Mustangs.
a silhouette, right? Like a
Yeah,
little silhouette of a Jeep or the silhouette of something, little tiny, like
Of the vehicle he
of the
rescued.
vehicle, yeah,
he
like a
rescued,
2.5
right.
inch side view silhouette of the vehicle.
Kind of stolen from World War II in the airplanes
Sure.
when they would do the numbers of kills. And
Right.
so every time him or his buddies would winch somebody out, then they had a sticker made for that type of vehicle, and they put it on the door of their vehicle or their door of their Jeep.
He handmade it.
Well, he handmade his. So
Oh, really?
David
Wow.
is now
They were nice.
Yes.
David has now made stickers of all of our vehicles. and he
Well, no,
carries
the
them.
Scout. He's
Oh.
made it of the Scout.
Oh, just of
Shitload.
the
And the
Scout?
Jeep.
And the
I
Jeep.
haven't seen a Jeep.
I
Is
got
there
a Jeep on my
Jeep?
Scout, dude.
Oh,
I got 2 JKs. I don't
There's
have a
Bronco
TJ yet.
ones in there
No.
too.
is there?
Oh, yeah,
Scout joke.
Fucker.
Yeah, so the deal is if you pull up and you winch somebody out, you get a sticker for your Jeep to put on the side of
Yeah,
the door.
winch
Wait,
kill.
back
Winch
up.
kill.
The person that you towed out has to hand it to you.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that was kind of a new thing.
We
Yeah,
made
that was a
up
new
on
thing.
the
So,
Rubicon.
so here's
Well,
the
that's
new
awesome.
rules. So the
Like a
new
walk of
rules
shame.
that we kind of made up on the trail were you had to give the person that winched you out the sticker, kind of like this humility thing, right?
Oh yeah.
And then we decided that, this is a long trail, so same trail, same day. if I had to winch Brian out and then he had to give me a sticker, but then later on in that same day on the same trail, if it rolls reversed, then he could either do one of two things. He could get his own sticker, or he could go peel the one off of
or
my
it cancels
Jeep,
out.
and it cancels it out. So these were the new rules because we had never been on
Wow.
a trail where you had to winch so much. So it was, to get a sticker was a big
missed
deal.
all this.
And we were like
Where
throwing
was I?
stickers around like they were like, oh, boom.
This
you know?
is
okay,
carte
so-
blanche from David.
Mar-
He
Mar-
made them
so
all
real-
up on his own.
all-
Just
quick.
trust me, all the rules are written in crayon in my handwriting.
All right.
Just so you know.
In his head.
Real quick, what would you rather do? Peel a sticker off, your sticker off of somebody else's vehicle, or hand them one?
Oh, I would definitely, for sure, at this point in the game, hand him one, right? And if it got reversed, I wouldn't go peel it off of theirs.
No?
I would want my own sticker.
But
Because right now, if you look at Brian's Jeep, you don't know that was my sticker.
No,
that he
but Brian will
winched
tell
me.
you. If
Brian will
anybody
tell you,
Yeah,
asks,
but you'll
All right, so-
always know. You'll
But here's
always
the deal.
know.
I'm going to make new stickers, okay? And the stickers are going to have initials on them. So you know whose fucking Jeep you winched out. So you know who did it. And it's going to be a little hook. It's going to have initials and a hook. So you know it was a winch. Or it's going to have like a
nice.
cross, like wrench on it.
Yeah.
And that means it was repaired. Like, so when we got to repair Ken's, power steering, well, we get a repair kill.
What about the drive shaft?
Drive
That's
shaft
a repair.
kill.
Did you
Boom,
get a sticker
repair.
for that?
We're going no, but this is the new game.
Oh, the
new.
new rule.
game-
We're not-
the
we're not
game is
retroactive,
evolving.
man.
Yeah, okay, all right.
The game is evolving. The rules are evolving. It's just going to get worse
Like,
and worse.
hey, Keith, by the way, you can't pull the stickers off David's Jeep. He has a wrap. It tears the wrap off.
I can get them off. I can
I
feel
was-
the rep anyways.
Well, I just thought it was funny because Marty was like, "Yeah, that's this one. That's Ken."
Yeah, so Brian owes me a sticker, right? He had to I was his anchor point, right?
Anchor point is different than winching, though.
All right, so that's the thing,
Yeah,
if it's
well-
the most expeditious, right? Like Marty pulled me out. I could have winched myself forward on the trail, right? I have a winch. I wasn't
To what?
stuck
Yeah.
to a vehicle in front of me, just
Then
like
you just
Brian
get-
did.
It's just a hook then. It's
Was
like
there
a
a
bomb,
vehicle?
all the bombs.
I
will
think that
drop.
if you hook it to somebody's vehicle, you owe them a sticker.
Yeah, I think
Alright.
so.
I'll
Yeah,
give you
that's,
one.
make it easy.
Because if you decide, you know what, I don't want you to get a sticker, I'm going to drag it the extra 20 feet to that tree,
And I'm going to make you wait.
and I'm going to make you,
right.
yeah,
yeah.
then you got to make that decision. You got to decide, you going to give up a sticker and just get out of here, or are you going to take the time and put it on a tree?
Or maybe just get the asshole sticker for taking the time to put it on a tree, because everybody else has to wait.
Yeah.
I had to use the tree while I was
Well,
on
we
there.
don't have to wait. We can
Winching
just
myself
leave it.
down a hill, by the way. Downhill.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
pulled a technicality rule on Ken and got 2 scout stickers because his drive shaft broke, and then he was going down the hill, and because he doesn't have 4-wheel drive, his wheels would start to push in the dirt and slide sideways and get him pinned up. So he'd have to go backwards. So I was behind him, so I'd have to winch him backwards to get him lined up again, and then I would have to unhook the winch so he could go further down the trail where he gets stuck again. Then I have to hook to him again and do it again. So I'm like, well, I get 2 stickers. I hooked up to you twice. So new rule, right? I mean, I made it up in my head. Just same,
Maybe we could just have a different sticker.
Yeah, that should be like a shadow, like a 3D.
like a
kind of
times
thing.
2.
Something. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to finalize these rules, but
Yeah.
I like the fact that it's pretty loose and we can, benefit me the most.
you
at any
could
point in
do-
time.
Or you could you can cut out the numbers of how many minutes it took between winches.
No, no,
I
you know
winched
what
them
you
out
could do
twice
is
within 12
You
minutes.
could do your right. Obviously, no one else has got a scout in the group, so the scout's going to be mine, right?
right. So
But
I know that.
on the Jeeps and the JKs and all that stuff, the TJs and JKs, you line it up and you have an initial, right? And then you can put hash marks, like how many days you spent in
Ooh,
the
that's
cell,
better.
right?
Yeah.
And then cross it
Ooh,
out.
Yeah. All right, I like
I like that one better because you could do one JK with multiple lines, 5.
Yes.
Then you put another sticker, and then your whole Jeep's not.
And,
Stickered out.
Take covered sticker.
Yeah.
Either that or
that's
you
a
got to
good
hang
one.
with a different crew that doesn't get stuck all the time.
Right?
Hey, real quick, I want to back up real quick and talk about the drive shaft because when everybody was arguing about what broke, 'cause
Sure.
there's all these mechanics were on the trail, right?
Yeah,
And I don't know. I'm not a mechanic. I'll tell you that. I come to you, right?
right.
But I
They
think
weren't
it was
mechanics
funny.
either, by the way.
Well, Ken looks at me. He knows me. He trusts me. He's like, "What is it?" And I remember him looking at me serious, and I'm
Yeah.
like, all I could do is go, "I don't know, but I could do squiggly arms." And I go, "But your front wheels are going like this."
Like that inflatable guy in front of the on sale
Yeah.
at the mattress store, right?
Yeah. That's what your front tires are doing that independently.
And I did that, and I remember Ken looking out the window and going forward, or looking out the door and going forward, and the wheels started doing it. He goes, "Okay, I get it."
Yeah. So then, what was your damage? You had a mirror,
Oh yeah, so I
your
ripped
license
off
plate,
the driver's side mirror,
driver's side mirror,
ripped off the rear license plate,
license plate.
which we have to mention that every JK in the group lost.
Yeah,
their,
all 3 JKs in the group.
Yep, lost their rear.
Yes, they did.
And I'll be highly curious to see what happens when we get the Jeep in here because right now my check your gas cap light is on.
Oh, okay.
So I go over there to tighten my gas cap, and the whole thing just jiggles in the whole
Nice.
compartment.
Nice.
What about your trasharoo?
Your trasharoo. I was thinking.
Oh,
Trasharoo.
man, Trasharoo, man, that's sad.
Or trasharoo.
Yeah, that was the same time you took the mirror out. You were backing off that big rock, and the trasharoo just barely got pinned under a rock, and your spare
About
tire
barely.
just went. Well, it was barely got
It was-
pinched, and then
it was
then it
pinned.
didn't move, and he just drove over it.
Yeah, I think the biggest one's tie rod. Tie rod was bent before we went to the trail, but I didn't want to
Right.
replace it until it was needing to be replaced, and now it's
For sure
it's
needs it.
rainbow shaped pretty much now. So
Yeah, Brian kind of thought he was Superman and didn't need to do any prep for the Rubicon.
And he
Nope.
made it.
He
So
did.
it's like
He
you
did.
can't even give him shit about
I
it because
know.
he was like, "You guys are worried about all these spare parts, and I'm almost worried about how many beers I could fit in my cooler." And we're like, "You're
Right.
gonna regret that decision." Nope.
Nope.
Always works out for that fucker.
no, I came
Marty,
in here. I asked you, can I use the same fluids as you just in case?
Yeah, I said just make sure you bring plenty of food for me, and then you can use all my stuff.
And then I called Keith. You got enough food for David? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm good here. I'm good.
Think so.
He's the delegator.
Pass the pain, you know.
Delegator.
How about Marty? Marty, on the trail, you really didn't have any
Shock.
issues.
A
A
shock.
shock, but a shock.
Leaking.
It was a
Leaking.
shock hose
Yes.
that
it,
was leaking.
It wasn't
Weeping,
blown. It was leaking.
barely.
Yes.
And that was not that big of a deal. But then we get home,
Post Rubicon.
post Rubicon. We're finding there's some post Rubicon grief going on here.
Well, I mean, there was the transmission, which was pre-Rubicon potential issue.
Right.
So
We both have TJs. They're both a year different, and we both have around 100,000 miles
Yes.
on them.
yes,
And your automatic transmission decided after the Rubicon, fuck this, I'm not doing it anymore.
yeah. Well, before Rubicon, it was like already kind of squawking a little bit.
Making some
So
noises.
I had some concerns, but we did it and we finished.
That's
got
amazing.
back, and then going to work one day, it just imploded. $3,700 later.
Mm.
But
Mm.
so that was that issue. The other issue is there's a clicking, I don't know how you describe it, noise up in the front suspension somewhere. So we got to figure that out. We don't know what that is.
What's this business about a skid plate?
Well, that was that. So, all right. So the skid plate. I mean, we used it, right? It
Every day.
Every
And
day.
Marty-
dude.
All day.
All day.
Marty's,
All day.
So just so people understand, and I know you Jeep guys will know this, but Marty has the TJ, and it's a stock skid plate, and it's where the actual transmission transfer case is mounted, is to the skid plate. Okay? So if
silly.
you bend the skid plate up with a rock, where does your transmission transfer case go? Up
Up.
until it can't hit anything anymore,
Right.
like your floor. And that's what we think happened with Marty, because it's really up against his floor.
Right.
So what
Bad.
skid plate has he ordered?
A new high clearance skyjacker. It's a thicker, heavier duty, but it replaces
Is
the
it
OEM.
thicker?
Yeah, it's thicker.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, it's sheet metal, isn't it? Better be thicker.
Yeah, it's thicker.
Stamped.
So hopefully that will
it held
resolve
up pretty
his
good
issue.
though.
Because right now he had
Apparently not.
he had the transmission rebuilt, but it
Hey,
won't go
hey,
in.
we've done a lot of trails. This was like the ultimate trail, right? So
Well, it got its workout.
yes.
Yeah,
But the
I
skid
think
plate you
everything
shouldn't
got
have
its
to
workout.
replace because it was used.
it's got a pretty nice arc upward now in it.
Yes.
And the transfer case is, which he's got an Atlas, and you were having trouble after the rebuild was done. They put it all back in, and it won't
was-
go into low gear or something.
And it was hitting the body.
Right. So
It
when
must
we
have
crawl-
been. It must have been because it was bolted up and wasn't loose or anything like that, right? And then once it was the spring tension, right?
Yes.
Let loose all the bolts and then
something.
and put
Well,
it
I
back
think that's
together.
what's going on with the front suspension. I think there's something like that going on.
So
Oh,
we're gonna
you didn't.
loosen
You didn't talk
everything.
about that. Keep going.
No, that was the clicking sound.
Oh, the clicking. All right.
Turn up the radio. Fuck it.
I do that too.
All right.
So we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Other than that, I didn't have any body damage other than scraping, scratching, sliders and
Which is all normal stuff. That's
Yeah,
all part of the
absolutely.
game.
yeah, that's it for me.
Yeah. And then we had, okay, so
Pretty
on the
happy.
trail, the people that aren't here, Shauna's Jeep on the trail, she smashed her front or her steering stabilizer shock. Smashed that thing to like a soda can. And we just deleted it for her, and then she continued on. But then she had lots of problems afterwards, driving-wise, right? Her steering, she had bad death wobble. She's having all sorts of repairs done on the front end of that. And she also did a bunch of upgrades.
What was the post trail repair that you guys did?
thought
Post-trail
that-
repair
that
on
was the
hers
death
was
wobble.
the
That was the
front
arm.
track bar, right? Had
Yep.
loosened.
Front track bar had loosened. The jam nuts on the Heim came loose, so there's just enough slack in the threads to give her death wobble. And there was a little bit of a clicking sound coming because the Johnny joints had reclocked, but they were turned over, right? So
Right,
she would
right, right.
articulate a little bit on a bump, and it would click the side where the bracket was. But
that my
other than
problem?
That's your problem you're
That's
having.
your
That's the
problem as
clicking
well.
you're having. So we'll straighten those out.
Johnny joints.
But then we got her on the road and she was good again. But then she had posted up, I think, on the Facebook page that she got all the armor done. So she has all this undercarriage armor upgrades and she's ready to go wheeling again. But then she also had some more steering issues that she wanted our opinions on because she has to get it repaired.
Because they didn't put it back together, right?
Because I don't think they put it back together. I don't think it was.
She got diff skids, it looked like, in that photo.
Yeah,
Yes,
diff
she did.
skids, tank skid.
Well, one.
We
The
should have
back one
talked
was
her out
just
of
the
that.
ARB.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised.
Diff
At that.
cover.
She didn't get your opinion
ARB
on that?
diff
No.
covers, I like those.
Yeah.
Lives too far away, you know. I can't.
Did she
can't-
get them powder coated?
Yeah, but I'm surprised she didn't reach out. She reached out
was
after
some
the
red
fact.
stuff.
Right,
The
after the
ARB
fact.
diff cover was red.
She got it powder
I
coated?
don't know if she got a powder coat if she just bought
Yeah,
it
they
like
come-
that.
No, they come red.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
It's a Rancho part.
And then she
Oh,
had
Rancho.
the
That's probably
tranny
why she
skid
bought that
plate
one.
was
Because it was
what
already
brand
red.
was that? It was
I think it was Rubicon Express.
Rubicon
yes.
Express, I think. Yeah.
yes. And it wasn't painted or anything.
Yeah.
Maybe she gave up on the painted thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
we
I'm
give her a hard
surprised.
time.
That one wasn't red.
Yeah,
Oh.
that was her upgrade. That was awesome.
Yeah.
And then Brian and Carmel's Jeep, the only thing they had was the sway bar in the beginning folded backwards on itself, and so we deleted that out for them. But other than that, I think they were good, right?
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything problems with that, JK.
No repairs.
Shauna's and Brian's JKs were both the 4-door JKs.
I did think it was funny though when you look through all the pictures from the trip that we put on the Google Drive, and Carmel just uploaded all her pictures, and you could see where she took pictures of all of our rims, all of our
she
wheels.
is. She's
Yeah.
trying to decide what wheels
she's
she
shopping
wants.
Yeah.
what wheels to get next.
Oh, really? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Oh, is that
that's
what
pretty
was
funny.
going
That was
That's
wheel
awesome.
shopping right there.
Yeah.
So my
Or the
Jeep,
selfies.
Thought she was comparing tire sizes.
Oh,
I didn't. We all had the same size tire, didn't we?
Yeah,
Well,
but
no,
different wheel sizes though.
Ken's is smaller.
My wheel sizes.
Johnson.
Wait, 15 inch?
Johnson thing.
Yeah. 15-inch wheel, trail ready.
yeah, we were all running 17s, right?
Was everybody else in 17?
I think
Yeah,
so.
Pretty
Yeah.
sure.
15's good.
So
Lots of meat.
It's
Some-
okay, buddy.
So my Jeep, let's go for my damage, right? Because I have some post Rubicon stress too. So I came off the trail and I was
Yeah.
excited that the only thing I damaged was one of my little cotter pins that holds my D-ring on the rear bumper was bent. So I was all excited. Suckers, this is the only damage I took. You guys suck, and sure enough, we get on the road the last day to drive home. So we're leaving Tahoe and we go by this retaining wall. And if the retaining wall was on the passenger side, you could hear this squeak, 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 squeak. I'm like, oh man, I got a bearing or something.
That's
Because
what
the
my
last thing,
transmission sounded like, dude.
dude, the last thing we drove through to get off the trail the day before, remember, was the 4-foot deep mud puddle.
That
And
was
so
awesome.
I thought, oh man,
Yeah.
dude, my bearings are full of dirt and mud and greasy water. Who knows? So I'm looking at Jake. I'm like, well, do we stop or just keep going? If it's a bearing that's dried out, eventually it's just going to seize. And it's just going to skid to a stop or it's going to rip off and go flying into the trees, right? So we're like, fuck it, just keep going.
going, man.
We don't want these assholes to think that we're broken down, right? Because
we got
we
skid
just
plates.
we just got done bragging about not taking any damage. So we drove 600 miles home with a squeaky right front hub. And then we got back to the shop and I thought, all right, well, I'm just going to change the hubs because on the Jeep, it's the whole, hub assembly. I'm not going to take the bearing out and it's whatever. It's good preventative maintenance. So we take the hubs off, and the brake pads were toast because I was trail braking on the trail the whole time, and I smoked a set of pads. So I thought, all right, well, I'm just going to get rotors, pads, and new hubs. And then so we're like, well, we're down here. Let's just check the ball joints. They should be good. They were brand new, 6 months ago when we put them in. Fucked. All 4 ball joints were fucked.
Really?
So I had to put in all new four ball joints.
You already did?
Yeah, I already put them in.
He knows
This is
the
his
guy.
first day back.
He
Ball
knows the guy.
joints, hubs, and front rotors and pads.
I want to do ball joints.
That was my real damage.
Now, did you get to go buy the parts, or were they already in the back of your Jeep?
Okay, truth be told, I did not have rotors and pads in the back of the Jeep. I did have 4 ball joints in the Jeep,
There you
but
go.
those are like Moog replacement aftermarket ones that are they were just to get me by, right? They're not the best. So I ordered the TerraFlex chromoly ones and that are adjustable, and so now I have the really nice badass ones in the front, so that hopefully I don't have this problem again. I didn't want to wear out another set when we go do Doozy or Ford Ice or something, so I've got the real good ones in there now.
Ford Ice is not in our future.
Why not?
No,
Oh, man. What do you mean, why not? You wouldn't do it then? You're not going to do it
Well-
later?
Why not?
Are you confusing that with a doozy though in Fresno?
Yeah. What are you? I don't know who's confused.
No.
No,
I'm
Talking
not
about Ford
confused.
Ice.
He's
You're
talking
confused.
about Ford
I'm not
Ice.
confused. I know
You don't
what
want
he's
to do the
talking
water
about.
crossing.
We can do the water crossing on a dry year.
yeah, he just doesn't.
Yeah, dude, there's a lot of rain this year.
So
Yeah.
we can't do Ford Ice until after winter, and then we can make the plans.
Late summer.
Right. But we can't make the plan
Fall.
until the winter has ended. And then, okay, we can do it
Exactly.
this year.
Yes, exactly. Actually, you know what? If I keep my normal doors on, I think we're good.
I don't know.
They had a nice seal on it. I mean, we went through that water crossing. It was halfway up the door.
Oh, we didn't talk about that. So, of course, right, my last stretch, it's like, all right, we're going to do, I'm losing transmission fluid. I'm like, look, I can keep pouring transmission fluid in. Let's put in one more, put it in again, and let's see how far I can get. So I'm going, right, and we see this guy, and we crossed paths with this guy early on that
Right.
day, right? He's
The
like, oh, the water
mustard.
crossing's up to our, up over your doors. And I'm like, what is he talking about?
Well, not only that, I'm thinking water crossing like a river, moving water,
Yeah.
clean, fresh water, river crossing.
No,
Right.
This was
Not,
a,
Right.
not
Mud hole.
It was a
fucking
mud hole.
snow mud puddle.
It was, yeah, and it was a deep mud puddle, right? But of course, right, I'm waiting in line, waiting. Come on, guys, come on. And everybody's worried about getting pictures. I think Keith was taking pictures of everybody coming through. And so everybody's holding up, right? And at this point, I hadn't figured out that we'll throw the thing in neutral and sit, and I'm not going to dump all my transmission fluid. And so
Right.
I enter the mud puddle, right? And of course, I make it to the deepest point and then stop.
It won't go forward.
I'm just watching the water, and I don't have any doors to begin with, right? So they're just pouring in. I'm like, oh, that muddy water.
that's when Shauna got her sticker.
Yeah. Stickers.
She got
That's
the
when
whole,
she got
That's
the
when
best.
she started.
the whole back.
I thought you stopped so I could take a better picture.
I
Oh.
wish.
Yeah, so Ken
Yeah,
got
man.
dragged out of the mud puddle and then ultimately dragged the last few miles off the trail,
Yeah.
which is the county unmaintained road. It's not really you made a gatekeeper to gatekeeper.
That was after the gatekeeper, and the gatekeeper was not a gatekeeper.
No,
on
it was
that
not.
side.
No.
Not at all.
No.
That's why I was
It's
getting
essentially
confused.
the peak, right?
I
Was there
consider
something
the,
after the peak?
technically
No,
it's
it was
like
after the
another.
peak.
Yeah,
It was definitely after the peak, and it was, I mean, it was a little spot, but I mean, compared to
What we
John
did.
Bull either side or any other gatekeeper, I mean, that was nothing.
Well, and that's
on
one of the
that
things
side.
we should
even,
touch on.
Even the first side, the first gatekeeper we went through really wasn't that bad. I think we were all a little cautious, but it was
No,
pretty easy.
It wasn't that bad. I think it required four-wheel drive. But,
but
Yeah,
I think that's one
absolutely.
of the
That's
things
about
we
it.
should talk about, though, is that, what was that, was that Land Rover Discovery? What was the stock one that was
Yeah,
out there?
it was a
Nice
disco.
stock Discovery and
Disco
then like a G-Wagon, a two-door
Yeah.
G-Wagon
Diesel.
Diesel.
with
Oh,
like
yeah.
a 2-inch lift on it.
Yeah, but that's
Blow
that.
and smoke.
The stock Discovery came in. That green one came in from the opposite direction of us. He came in from the Tahoe side, made it to Buck Island Lake,
Oof.
and then turned around to go back out. So
Oh, really?
he didn't go the rest of the way in. Yeah, because he was already. Remember when we were doing the welds on the axle and they stopped down there? You were able to take a good look at the Discovery, and I mean, he was beat up pretty good. I
That's
mean,
what he said.
Yeah,
he was
and
taking a lot of body damage.
a lot of body damage, and he was like,
Well, he was running Michelin's. Like 245, 75,
Big tires.
15s or something.
but
Oh, really?
that's why I said I wanted
Wow.
to talk about it because
Yeah.
that guy said, he
Holy
goes,
shit.
well, I figured if a stock Rubicon could do this and I've got everything it does, I can do it. But
Wrong.
I think coming in the back way would be a little easier in some aspects than what coming in from the
Going down Cadillac.
going down.
going
that
down
would not be
Holy
fun.
shit.
Wouldn't be
But
fun, but
If you were in a stock vehicle, you could do it. Like that Discovery could do it with body damage, obviously, but
Well, yeah, I mean, I could drive a Miata through there if I was
Yeah.
willing to take body damage.
Exactly.
Because
Downhill?
that guy to get, let's be honest, that Discovery going up Cadillac, his buddy was going to winch him up that hill.
right.
That's how he got out. He winched up the hill to get out of it. And if you can winch anything up a hill.
Yeah.
You know, it just depends on what you want to do. And he just didn't care. He didn't care what happened.
Well, that's why I brought it up too, because in my head I would do the same thing. Oh, a stock Rubicon can do this. And we
Yeah.
got out there, and I'm like, what? I would like to follow Jeep when they take a stock Rubicon through that and see how they get through it.
I think they're doing bypasses.
They have to do bypasses.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way they're going through little sloughs. Oh, I did see.
They
I
did
did
do the
see.
trail, though.
They did the trail though, yeah. I did see finally a video of a guy. Remember at Soup Bowl, you guys are talking about why do you got to do the whole goofy like turn your rocker thing, and
Yeah.
this guy drove straight up it.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh,
I've seen
really?
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I've seen that.
I had never seen a video of a guy driving
Yeah.
straight up.
What
it.
was he on?
He
Tire
was in a
size.
Jeep with like 40s. or
Long
something.
arm,
Yeah.
long arm, 40s.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
it was fully
Canoes.
coilover. Like
It didn't
was
even
a-
look like a Jeep anymore, right?
Yeah, it was a.
He's an
it
old
was-
guy.
It doesn't even look like a
Tube.
Jeep.
Yeah.
What about
So-
that Ruxor that was out there? Isn't that what it's called? Ruxor?
No, you're talking about
No,
the
the
little-
Mahindra.
Mahindra.
Mahindra. And that's but that's the
Japanese
model
thing.
is a Ruxor, isn't it?
Oh,
think it
maybe
is.
that's the original brand name or whatever, and then the model is the Mahindra or whatever. I don't know.
No, the
It's
Mahindra is the
little
brand,
mini,
and the
little
Ruxor
mini
is the
fake
model.
Jeep.
I think.
Was
Yeah.
that little tin can looking thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Jeep UTV.
The little
With
side by
the
side.
heads, the helmets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aren't those are called like Rocons, aren't they?
Ro-
Or s-
That's
Is
it.
that it? Rocon?
Maybe.
They were at SEMA. Remember looking at them?
They're like
Yeah.
weird, goofy. They almost look like a golf cart that's all pimped out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was out there.
Cool.
These
thing.
ones
I
look
got to
like-
winch him out. Oh, I get one of those.
I got to make you a little Mahindra one. I'll make one.
You got to make the sticker small.
Yeah, it's gonna be a real small sticker.
Just like a
Don't make it like
CJ.
a-
I think
Like
we
shrink
talked.
it.
I think we talked about it on the trail. You said I need a sticker. I winched the Mahindra, and I go, you don't get a sticker for winching a UTV. It doesn't count because that thing is a UTV.
He was bragging he was on 28s.
Yeah, then he got stuck. He bragged to us as we were fixing your fuel pump on your Scout as he drove by. Oh, I'm rolling on 28s or whatever, and then 40 yards later he's stuck, and you drive by, and go, well, I'll get you out.
Those were classic. Their helmets,
They
and
were-
their
Yeah, they were-
heads, and their helmets were bigger than their tires.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That was pretty
They were
cool.
wearing bicycle helmets.
That was a weird
Yeah.
crew.
So what upgrades do you guys have on your head now that you need to make?
Are we done with the trail?
That
Let's
was-
talk about what was like the most intense obstacle or
Intense
section.
moment?
Yeah.
Marty was looking at his notes. He wants to make sure he gets
No, I didn't take notes for that.
Hold on a second.
I didn't take notes for
Well,
that.
you
But-
start us off, Marty. What?
Oh,
what-
Cadillac Hill, man.
for sure, Cadillac Hill, right?
Absolutely.
That was
That
a
thing
stressful hill.
brutal. It was totally stressful.
No, so, but I didn't keep track of where I was on the trail, so unfortunately
We can
I don't
help
know
you.
the names. Yeah,
Yeah,
and so I'm
the
a little
big one at the
disappointed.
end.
No, I know what that one is. That
Okay.
one I got. I got that one. But the obstacles in between, I can't call them out and say, oh, this is the one. But the one that the big sluice or little sluice where I guilted you
Big sluice was nothing.
into
That's Little Sluice, yes.
so
Yeah,
little
Little
sluice
Sluice
where
was
I'm like,
rough.
Dave, what the hell are you doing? We came all this
glad
way.
you did
Don't
that.
take
That
don't
was
take the bypass.
Yeah.
Right? You got to be kidding me. That one was work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
work.
That was the first spot that we thought you took body damage because that thing laid over, bang, really hard. And we're like, oh, I was down below going, oh, Jesus, that the whole side of that Scout is done. But it hit that little bar that we made. So
Yeah.
luckily, and even Shauna was standing there going, I don't know how that thing didn't just cave in.
Oh, I tell you, boy, those rock sliders, they took a beating.
Yeah.
They took a beating.
They
So
didn't
much
even
shaved.
deflect though. Like they
No,
had
they-
some,
they've
they
got-
had some bends in the bottom, but they're not deflected up like the whole all
Right.
of them,
You're right.
which
Right.
is awesome.
Yeah. No, but man, and there's so much material that's taken off the bottom.
Yeah, right? Thinned out that metal real
It
good.
did. It did.
So maybe that's what we need to say when we're doing these things and we're building them. 120 wall is good because you're going to shave it down to 095 by the end of the trip.
Right. Oh, it was 120? Wow.
Yeah.
Heavy.
Yeah.
So
That
Yeah.
that was I think that wasn't the most the pucker factor was, and I don't know where we were again, but I was practically on 2 wheels. And I slid over, and like both drivers' wheels, side wheels, almost came up off, and I thought I was going to tip over.
Is that where
Oh.
Shauna almost went over too?
Oh, I remember that. That was when you're coming
That
up
little
that hill.
goalie?
And that rock, that huge rock was on your right hand side.
Yeah, the rock was on the right, and I'm just like, man, guys,
That
am
was
I
awesome.
okay? Am I okay? This is. I'm leaning out the door, trying to counterweight the damn thing, and just going, I
Lasers
am
there.
not comfortable.
Yeah, and I feel bad because I lie. No, you're good.
Yeah,
You're
he
good.
did. I have
Yeah.
no idea. Oh, you're good.
yeah, the two different spotters you're having is like you'd see Brian
Oh.
straight deadpan face going, "Good man, just keep coming, good." And meanwhile, I'm clearly Jeep waving, right? I've got a long arm and I've still got a tire off the ground, and he's just no problem, come on. And then you have Keith, who's punking you because he's giving you this look of like, oh Jesus, oh God, a little more, keep coming. Oh Jesus, oh stop, hold on, a little more. And so you're going, what is happening? What's in front of me? And then you go through it and you're like, dude, there was nothing. And he's like, I know, I just wanted to give you an excitement. Make you, I really wanted you to enjoy the experience.
Fucking feel good about it.
I want you to feel good
Rubicon,
about it.
man.
I'm like,
It's
holy
awesome.
gee. So every time then you start getting the cry wolf, right? You're like, he's just fucking with you. And then bang, you drop into a hole. And you're like,
Yeah.
all right, he wasn't fucking with me.
I'm getting the front camera.
Yeah, right. Marty, did you have your
Did
front
you use
camera?
yours?
What?
Your front camera on the trail?
A few times. Actually, yeah, a lot of times. Even Logan would remind, hey, just use your camera. All right, yeah.
What,
I'll
instead of
use it.
spotting, you just use the camera?
Well, yeah.
Nice.
It's the whole. I mean, that's the only
Yeah, but
reason
there's
to
any
have it.
distortion or
Yeah, you-
anything? Or
No. Well,
Is it
like
a
a,
little
fisheye
bit,
like a
little bit,
GoPro
but
or something? Or?
a little bit. And you can't see your tires, but I already figured out where my tires were. But yeah,
You can
I
do
mean-
that in a Jeep?
yeah. The only reason I do it a lot is it uses the AV in on the stereo. So when you turn it on, your stereo, if you have music playing, it stops because it's like, okay, I got to get the sound from the input, right? So,
Yeah.
so
Marty
that's
can't
part.
get rid
That
of his
part's,
music.
and you have to actually
No.
quit the app. You have to like get out of the app for your music to start again. So that's the only reason I don't use it more than I did. But yeah, cool. Especially coming over a crest, you can't see over your hood. You
Dude,
gotta look.
my hood feels so big when you come up. It's just a freaking sea of sheet metal out there going, holy, it's sheet metal and sky. Going,
Yeah.
oh my God.
We did a whole lot of, well, the guy in front of us went over this,
Yes.
so fuck
Yeah.
it. It's got to be
Yep.
good.
Yep.
Well, we got video of Kent leaning out the side of the Scout because he always looks at his left tire. He
Yeah.
doesn't look at you anyway, so you
That's a-
just stand up there and keep waving. And he's like, but I can't see you. And he got it on video.
Well, yeah,
where you
because
can
my
see-
hood's in the way, man.
Yeah, but he's looking out the side of his Jeep at his tire going, I can't see you. And you're like, okay, I'll go to the side of the Scout so you can see me.
Just stand next to his front tire.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Any regrets?
No.
I regret
My
not taking
only
my
regret
transmission
is-
back in and get those fuckers to fix it before the trip.
My only regret is like early on, we went through the granite slabs, right? And you come down, you go through, and there's that spot where there's the couple step ups with the tree, and the guy said, "Get really close to the tree, and you can make it." Right?
That, the Jeep,
Um,
there.
Yeah.
I just feel like if I was aired down more, I might have been able to do it.
Which is what I did. You guys all took off up the hill. I aired down
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
and then
Oh.
did it.
That was my only regret.
I aired down
And
after
and
that, too.
actually, no, I take that back. I didn't
Remember-
do Little Sluice all the way. I took the bypass at the top of it. I saw Ken and you guys beating the crap out of your vehicles. I'm like, it's day one. I'm not doing that.
Really?
Yeah,
That might be a smart regret, though. You know,
Yes.
it's like, you know what?
absolutely.
Do I want to enjoy the rest of the
It was
trail?
day
or do I
one.
wanna
It was
just
day one.
hammer this?
Your regret could have been, I wish I didn't take
Yeah.
that route because my
Well,
shit
I
broke.
think the thing, though, to think
Other than
about,
that, that's it.
like Ken
for me.
pointed out, like I was so excited to be there, and as soon as we went to air down, I was going to 5 pounds every tire. Let's do this. And he looked over and goes, "How low are you going?" I said 5. And he goes, "You're carrying a lot of weight." And I looked at the Jeep. I hadn't thought about that. It didn't cross my mind. And I looked, and my Jeep was just sitting on the rear axle, and I'm like, "Ooh, I am." So I think I did my rear to 12, and my fronts were at 5. But then I could feel the wheels spinning when I was trying to go over stuff, and I'm like, I don't like this. I can't handle it. I want my tires to grip and go over. And then that's when I was like, I aired down.
I went a little higher air pressure than I could have, only because I had put those diff skids on
Right.
and I lost clearance. So I was trying to make up for the clearance. Like, let's leave a little air in there, keep me up a little higher.
What did we end up at? I think we were like 8 all the way around or something.
I was like,
we started at 12, and I think we were at 12 or 13 because we had a lot of weight.
We had a
like,
lot of weight.
I know
Yeah.
you guys had a lot of food and stuff, but we carried every
I didn't have a
tool
lot.
known to man. Like
Yeah.
we weren't fucking around, and that it was like a 2-inch difference. Like we sacked out 2 inches when we left it, when we finally lowered all that down. So I think first we were thinking 12 will carry the weight just fine, and then we turned out that 8 was a little bit better.
Yeah. Like, forget it. We just have
Yeah.
to. But yeah, normally I would run at 5. Like if we do John Bull, I'll put everything at 5. But yeah, with all the weight, 8 was good for me.
So
You
what
know-
do you do to compensate for weight? I mean, is there anything you could add to the suspension?
No.
Because
You could run-
You still
you
have to
could
have
run-
the travel and the flex.
If you had
right?
coilovers, there's a lot of stuff you could do. But because I'm just running a coil and shock setup, I mean, other than taking out the rear coils and putting in different coils for this trip, fuck it. I'm just.
Well, that totally sounds like you, though.
It's true. I could have done
You have
that,
to, you
but
have to try it at least once.
I could have done that, but
You
I
know-
didn't. I figured that's one of the main reasons why I took my top and my doors off was because it was kind of canceling out a lot of the tools I was taking because my doors are super heavy, and the top is not super light either. I mean,
That thing's pretty heavy.
yeah, it's pretty heavy. So I mean, by the time I took all the glass off of the doors that have the glass and the top that has the glass because hard top and all that stuff came off, my Jeep was sticking up high in the back, and then I loaded it full of tools and it came back down.
I learned on that trip, and I don't know, I think it was day 2 or 3, actually. I didn't realize it the first day, but boy, my 15-inch wheels and still running, I was running, I think I went to 8, and I was dragging my pumpkin
Yeah,
where you guys weren't,
yeah,
and my tires were squishing further because of the smaller diameter wheel.
right. Yeah, your tires when they would go over a rock, it was really going over the rock.
It's pretty cool to watch.
Oh, it was cool. It was definitely cool.
That's the first time I've seen that stuff. That was amazing. I just kept looking at the tires going, what the fuck?
How are these things still holding
Yeah,
on?
I mean, you see like 2 or 3 ripples in the sidewall. And you're just like, are you kidding me? Who makes these things?
I know they're crazy, huh?
Amazing.
Witchcraft.
Hey.
And they make tires out there that are way better, like they're really the rock buggy ones
Really?
that have the tread that go. The whole sidewall is tread.
Oh,
The tread
red
doesn't
lettering.
stop, right? The tread
Nice.
just keeps going because these rock buggies will use the sidewall all the time, and so they're treaded up. So if we went back, would you guys try Soup Bowl?
For sure.
Like, say we were going to do a trip next time where it's like we're going to go in, but we're going to go to Rubicon Springs and then turn around the next day and come back out the same way we came in. We're not going to go up Cadillac and into Tahoe. We're just going to go Rubicon Springs, camp, and come back the other way, right?
That's what that guy that we watched
That'd
at
be
Soup Bowl, that guy in the tan Jeep that
Yeah.
that busted his tie rod
Yeah.
up front, or Bennett to shit. I don't know how many days they were spending on the trail, right? But he was just driving back and forth. Like he went all the way in. Well, he went all the way into Tahoe. He went all the way up Cadillac and came back down, right? But he was going back and forth, like
Yeah.
base Cadillac and back in base Cadillac. So they set up camp, I think, and that was like kind of base camp.
Right.
And they went and they were doing day trips away from there,
Right.
which that would be cool
That would be
to
very
spend a
cool.
little more time on the trail.
Yeah.
We did it pretty slow. We talked about speed and why is it going to take us more than 2 days. Hindsight, I'm really happy that we did it as slow as we did and took in the trail. I think we could absolutely do it faster. My
I don't
rig wouldn't have had the problems it had. It would have
Yeah.
been
But I don't want to do it faster. Like, I want to enjoy it.
right.
I think it would be cool to be able to go up there and spend a week or 4 or 5 days on the trail.
The funny thing is though, we would be faster even if we weren't trying,
Sure,
because
because
now
we just know what's up now.
Right, we know where the obstacles are. We know where we can speed up and slow down.
Yeah, I think that it.
We'll have long arms by then.
Well, maybe the next
we'll
time
have
too.
40s.
We don't have to go in from Loon
40s.
either. We can go in from the other, do the long portion.
I don't want to go down Cadillac Hill, dude.
No.
That would be
talking
rough.
about-
That
No,
would
no, no.
suck.
The
Oh,
for-
you're
the
talking
fire
about
roads,
starting at
Yeah,
the traditional.
What was it called? Yeah.
starting
do the full
over
do the full
airport,
22 miles.
Airport Flat Campground on Wentworth Springs
Wentworth.
Road.
There you go.
Yeah, and take that all, because then the only thing you really miss is when you come in from Loon, we do that big granite bowl thing right? You miss that, right?
No, I don't think you do.
No, you do.
Yeah, you
Because that's the
Oh,
trail.
it was after. It wasn't. Yeah, right. The fork in the road.
I can tell you this, that when we got back, at first I was like, yeah, I'm never going to go back to that place. But after like a week,
Really?
and then started like watching videos again and stuff and seeing people do it, I started getting the bug. And I'm like, oh.
Well, now you look at the
Need to go
desert
back.
and you're like, well, I guess that's fun to drive around, but it's really nothing now. The
Yeah.
desert, what have we
Nothing.
experienced there?
So would long arm really do me any good
Absolutely.
on mine?
Oh, yeah.
You made it through the whole thing. It's fine. It's just all it's going to do is make getting through that easier.
Smoother.
That's it.
This is what I
We
say.
didn't take a beating at all.
Is
yeah,
his
but
Jeep long
my
enough for a long
wheelbase
arm?
is way less than yours, though.
Yeah.
They just connect in the middle
Yeah.
at the same point, like the front
Yeah,
and the rear,
exactly.
right there.
That's it.
on mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no. So
Not a lot of room there.
You know?
Do they? They don't go past. do
No,
they?
so the front if you put the same long arm kit I have, then that skid plate that we're replacing becomes the mounting point for your long arm. So my Jeep's longer, so my rear arms would be longer than his rear arms, but our front arms would be the same. Make sense?
They use the same skid plate. They don't have a different one. They don't have a different mounting point.
Nope, because from the engine to that is the same. Engine, transmission, transfer case on the Jeep, it's all the same in the same spot.
Right.
Understood.
And then they just stretch the back, right?
But then the mounting point, though, for the suspension seems like they could change that.
Yeah, but there's not much more room to go forward with it. They would have to go forward. There's just no room for it. But I mean, it's only like, what's the difference? 7 or 8 inches or something? It's not that big of a deal.
Little sluice was one thing, but when we got on Cadillac and we were trying to get around that tree, and so many Jeeps have dug that hole where they were leaning into the tree and then trying to get a bite. And
Well,
I did that. He did that. Like everybody kind of was
Isn't
struggling.
that where you went like really wide?
Yeah, it's really wide, isn't it?
Yeah, and
You went really high.
the rest
I'm
of us
I'm
were
not
like,
doing
"What
that
in the world is he
because
doing?"
you're totally sideways, and I'm going to tip over.
Yeah.
Was that when Keith tried to get out and the door wouldn't open because we were at such an
Yeah,
angle?
it was all cockeyed. I was like, okay, let me get
Let me
out so I
out.
can spot us. And the door just like hit a rock after like 3 inches. I was like,
That was
oh,
his
well, I'm not getting
excuse.
out.
Yeah.
Let me get out and spot.
I
yeah,
told him
because I
That's
mean,
what I
my
want to do.
freaking sphincter is pulling the.
oh no,
I
no.
said, hey, dude.
Yeah, that's what,
It is.
that's
It,
what Brian said.
we were already in the spot, so I was like, whatever. I'm just
And,
trying
then,
to help.
and I'm
get
sitting
out.
over there going, I've been to Camp Jeep, dude. I've been to Jeep 101. We're okay. We can do this.
So then what did you were thinking about something going through there with your,
No, but it was the long arm because I came back to spot you,
yeah.
and I feel that we took, maybe it was different because I was inside, but it felt like we took a very similar line. And what I noticed standing there was that hole was so dug out, and your wheel just dropped down into that hole, and your Jeep never moved.
Right.
So you had this huge gap where your wheels were hooking up where mine weren't, where the Jeep would lean into the hole,
Yeah.
right? You guys weren't feeling that lean. You guys were just sitting there, and the suspension was doing the work.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys saw or if you had an opportunity, but if you look at my Jeep, the way I have the front air bumps and everything in there, my coil will release from its perch and slide down and gap away from my car
No shit.
so that I can so that it gets more travel.
Wow.
And then it comes back up and reseats and
Hmm.
you know what I mean?
Really?
I want to see that, and I don't know what you're talking about.
Really?
I mean, I understand, but I didn't realize.
Oh, yeah.
What if it doesn't seat properly? How does it?
It
No.
will on the next hole.
Right. I was gonna say.
It'll make
Don't
a
they
clicking
all?
noise on the drive home.
Yeah.
That's what the helper springs
Yeah.
on the coilover.
Now on the back, I had to actually put retainers on it, spring retainers, because it would flex out and they just fall out. So because I don't have the air bumps or anything back there, so I put retainers to hold them. So I'm physically limiting the back from going further than it could.
Is the
Not-
air bump
not
inside the coils up
Yeah.
front? Oh, all right.
Right, so it can't
Okay,
escape,
got it.
and
Yep.
then it goes right back up. So that's the idea.
Same on the
Pretty
back,
cool.
right?
That's pretty cool.
No,
No,
air
the
bump.
I heard that.
There is a bump in the back, but I don't have air bumps in the back.
Oh.
Yeah,
Come on, Marty.
Any other
a
upgrades?
rookie,
I mean,
man.
Ken's
So
got to
have
get
a
through his
Jeep.
repairs.
I was
But
about to
his-
say,
you
so
are
with,
going to go. You were going to go hydraulic power assist, like hydro boost brakes, and you were going to put an assist ram for your steering, right?
well, night 3 or whatever it is, 4 after the trail, Jake is going. 1-ton axles, 3-link it, come on,
Yeah.
right? And just push. There's just too much to lose going that route right now.
Money?
Come on.
Yeah, like what?
Yeah.
Money?
No,
You
man,
have the
yeah.
You
axle.
already have the axles. You had this
For-
planned. You're letting
For
down your
decades,
younger
you've had the
self.
axles.
Money. There's always been a
Decades.
yin and yang kind of a thing in terms of full width axles on the trail, and it changes the way you have to drive. And you know, I've always liked the size of the Scout. The ass end is too long, but otherwise the width. I mean, that's essentially the same as a JK, I would imagine at this point. They may be a couple inches wider. I don't know.
Yeah,
If they,
probably the same.
but with chromoly axles, 35s on the 44s is fine. So I've ordered and received my shackle reversal for the front. So I'll do that. That's an upgrade.
Yeah.
At that process, I got the sad part is, right, we hit the trail Monday morning and my hydraulic steer arrived at my house. My hydraulic assist.
Day late.
So yeah, it was a day late, and but then the bigger thing for me right now, it's on my mind too, is the cooling. So
Yeah.
I talked to some guys, and I want to put the hard mechanical fan back on, no fan clutch or nothing, and then a pusher up front, and then a tranny cooler.
And they don't make that radiator you have is confirmed the biggest one you can stuff in there, right?
I've got to confirm I've got the 4-row or 3-row, whatever
Right.
the one is. I think it's 4-row.
So
And-
you go back to a mechanical fan plus a pusher.
Right, because since our last Big Bear trip, I put the fan shroud on, and it was unsuccessful. I didn't rebuild the 392, thinking I was having heating issues. So I put the 345 back in, and still had cooling issues. It's just too hot, and so that's the first thing. And before I get too far off track on the Phytech, I'd like to try to get that so that it stays at 210.
Right.
It just seems like that's where it belongs.
You could put an LS in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. See,
Yep.
now if I was starting all over again, no brainer.
Right?
Isn't
I'd
there
straight
one
to
right
the
here?
LS.
Hey,
There's
we
one.
could
Straight to the LS.
we could force that.
Yeah, man. No, so one of the things in the transmission rebuild was my Scout came with a 345, a Borg Warner 3-speed transmission, and a Dana 20 transfer case. Bought a donor vehicle, had a 392 in it, a 727 transmission, and a Dana 300 transfer case. So I'm like, sweet, that is my dream setup. Transmission goes, go to have the transmission rebuilt, and I get a phone call. Hey, we may need a new donor case for the transmission. I'm like, what are you talking about? Yeah, we can't get the helicoils to bite because they're having to patch all this in because it's
Right.
just worn out. So now, and again, every step I made was a baby step that was just to keep it on the trail. I didn't want to miss out wheeling with you
Right.
guys, and so
Yeah.
it's like keep it on the trail. And that's the problem with the 1-tons, right? It's going to turn into a project.
Well, it's going to turn into a big project, but I mean, it's a rad project.
Can't you just cut it? Bring the wheelbase.
You could just
in?
drop it off here, and we'll just turn it for you.
Well, we
in
could do that.
a few
We
weeks.
can do it.
Hey Ken, there's a Ford motor here. Right
Oh no, that's going to my Spitfire. So that over there is
What?
the 1UZ, the Lexus 1UZ engine. It's a all aluminum V8 that we were going to shoehorn into that MR2 over there, that 85 MR2. But we decided, fuck that. We're going to put it in my Spitfire because my Spitfire needs a transmission and needs to be rewired. And I was thinking about doing all this work, and I'm like, well, fuck it, I'll just put that in there.
And then what transmission?
There's a transmission back there. What was it for? Like a 240?
It was a
like a 240 Z or
SX.
something, SX or something. We've got a 5-speed for it. We'll adapt over and make it all work. But that's the new plan. Because James skipped town and lives in Oregon or something, so we're gonna
Oh, he's gone.
we're gonna
Yeah,
drive
he's
the
dead
MR2
to
off a
us.
cliff.
Oh.
And
Wow.
then, so there's big plans for that engine, but for sure,
Yeah, no, I mean now that it started with a tranny rebuild. So, and again, staying true to the beginning, right? Yes, originally did I want to keep it IH? Yeah, I wanted to keep it IH, and still IH. And I did the 4-to-1, before in the Dana 300 transfer case before the trip. Well appreciated on the trip.
Well, and
Absolutely.
how rad was that though? You did that whole transfer case rebuild upgrade yourself, and
Yeah,
that thing was
that was
fucking
cool.
flawless out there.
it,
Like
it-
we were trying to do all the whole time on the whole trip. It's like, okay, was that something we touched, or was it something that was just time for it, or was it something that somebody else fixed, right?
right.
And so it was kind of neat that the stuff that you rebuilt yourself didn't really give up.
It was a bright spot, right?
Yeah.
The stuff we did, the prep we did, we were prepared. We had the tools, we had the parts, we did it right. And what am I going to do? That the transmission failed. What am I going to do? The
Right.
seal. It's a seal. It wasn't even transmission. Transmission ran fine.
Yeah, and same with the power steering. It was a rubber seal on the top of the screw, and you just had that thing rebuilt.
And
So
I
the
just
ca-
had that thing.
So,
rebuilt.
so those are not things that you would have expected to happen.
And I did the preventative maintenance, and it still came back to bite me. That's the frustrating part
Right.
about my trip.
Yeah, that's
Is
frustrating.
that I spent the time, spent the energy.
Who rebuilt it? What garage?
What are we talking about?
Which one you got?
Yeah, right.
Call 'em out.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oceanside transmission. They did it. They were good. The repair was no issue, and the
just so you guys know, we're laughing because we're trying to have a serious conversation, and we look over to the left, and one of the Jakes is jacking the other Jake up on a transmission jack.
Let
He's
him do it.
jacking him up.
Just hit it. Go,
So he's
do
on
it.
he's on a transmission jack, like 7 feet up in the air right now.
That's it.
It's pretty fucking funny. These guys are idiots.
Double bass.
the only disappointing part about the transmission shop is that it 3-year warranty, right? Probably 36,000 miles. Never gonna touch the mileage, right?
Right.
Whatever it is, and it's like really, a seal.
Right.
That part just sucks.
Yeah,
But
it's
they made it
pretty-
right, didn't they?
They made it right, but I had to tow it.
Yeah.
I had to tow it 600 miles home.
Right. And
Yeah, which
right?
sucks.
Which I had to rent a U-Haul truck, right? U-Haul box truck, and
Got one.
and a trailer
and trailer.
to
So,
get it home.
to get it home,
They didn't
Yeah, that's
cover
pretty
any of that.
rough.
and they didn't cover any of that. The warranty didn't cover any of that.
What about your steering pump?
That was
What was
so on the top of the steering gear there's
ultimately
a
just loose, wasn't it?
yeah, so there's a the shaft, the adjustment rod, right, that goes down into the steering gear, and that's held on in place by a jam nut. And the jam nut that was used was a nylock jam nut. And that power steering gear, because the power steering fluid and everything was so fucking hot, it basically melted the nylon locking portion of the nylock nut, which allowed it to back off a little and release the O-ring and let all the fluid come out. So I think it was just maybe a posi locking nut, or maybe a double nut, regular double nut would have been better in that situation. I don't know. So that was just a weird, quirky thing that luckily we figured out real quick, and it didn't pose a problem the rest of the time, I don't think.
And the
I'm gonna stand up because everybody else is.
power assist,
I'm
right?
not.
The hydraulic assist steering has a cooler
Yes,
power steering fluid now.
which I think will help
Yeah.
that situation even
wow.
more, yeah. So anything else that anybody, Marty, what are your notes? Did you get through all your notes, buddy?
We didn't talk about our next trail.
Oh, well, we should talk about our next trail. So the next big trail or the next trail that we're doing to
Oh,
keep our
yeah,
wives
well,
happy?
Yeah, no, that doesn't count because
That-
we've done those multiple times.
Right. Well, we haven't done this. I haven't done the Sedona one.
No, that's what I meant. the
That's our
big
next
one.
trail, right?
That's not really a big trail, but okay, yeah.
So we're gonna
That's
go
our
do
next one.
Sedona, and what is it called? Schnibbly,
Wait.
Schnucker,
I got
Notes.
it written down.
Well,
Marty's
I
got
think
notes.
Snickerdoodles.
I think that is one day.
Nebley.
Schnibbly.
I think that's
Nebley Hill
one day,
Trail.
but
Yeah, that's a 1 day,
That sounds silly.
pretty mellow, nothing trail.
2 to 5 rating.
the one that everybody's talking about is Broken Arrow with Devil's Slide.
Oh.
That's the one.
out at
that's,
Sedona.
Really?
That's
Who's
the
been
one
talking
we need
about
to try.
that? It's so funny. It just keeps coming up. But
YouTube.
That sounds
yeah,
so macho.
YouTube keeps talking about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
YouTube.
So that's okay. Those trails we'll do while we're out there. That should be fun.
Exactly.
And then after that, what's the next big one? Moab,
Yes.
right?
That's
Yeah.
what the hope is. Yeah.
Is that next late summer, fall, or is that even
Maybe,
a
right?
year
Well, let's see
later?
how. I mean, the Sedona one's not until March.
Well, the Sedona one's nothing.
Well, we
Sedona
did.
Wine is
That's
a
wine
Jeep.
tasting and jeeping.
It's a Jeep Badge
Hell
of
yeah.
Honor trail for the Compass owners to go and get their badge.
Damn.
Right.
You racist,
Wow.
elitist.
It's not racist.
Oh my god.
He's a Jeep,
I'm
man.
calling it racist.
So this is my input on this. Is like if me and Jake were to build. I mean, he's on his way to building an off-road rig, but it's like we got to just step right up to the plate because the second we get into it, you guys already got Rubicon under your belt, all these trips to Big Bear, like whatever the other ones are. But it's like, man, if we're jumping into this, going straight to Moab first trip out.
Well,
yeah,
I
you
don't think
guys-
Moab's like even that big of a deal. I mean, obviously there's going to be some big stuff out there, but it's not a Rubicon,
No.
level area. It's got a lot
Slick
more
rock.
trails, but I don't think it's going to be that big a deal. You can at Moab you can make it as difficult as
biking.
you want. I think is really what it is.
Yeah, I agree.
Wait, is Moab
You've
gonna
done
be
Schnebley,
a
right?
guy trip?
You've already done
No,
it,
I
right?
haven't done Schnebley.
Maybe. Possibly.
Oh, I thought you already did it with
That's-
your.
That's
we
a
were snowed in.
50-50 right now. Some
Yeah.
want to go,
Well,
some
maybe,
don't.
maybe the ladies could stay here and the guys go.
Well,
come
the
back.
ladies are talking about staying in town.
Right. That's what, yeah. They can
That
stay
kind
at
of
a
thing.
hotel or
But
something.
they could
Chris
also
won't.
rent
She's a Jeep
UTVs.
girl.
That's
Yeah.
one of the big draws to Arizona is they want to go. Well, I know
Utah.
Amy does for sure. No. When we go to Arizona,
Oh, we're talking about
they
Moab.
can rent street legal
Sedona.
UTVs.
Yeah, we looked into
no,
that.
no,
That's
no, I
like
was just
it's
talking
like
about Moab.
$1,500 deposit and like $500 a day.
You put it on
if
a
you
credit
wanna-
card.
Cheaper than owning one, man.
Cheaper
What's
than
that?
Cheaper than owning one.
Yeah, but I already got one.
All right, well, I get
But
that.
I'm not allowed to drive it on the street in Arizona.
But for Keith, right?
Oh, Keith rent one. Yeah.
He rented some for $500 a day.
Yeah.
No. What
Plus
does she look like?
$300 a night.
It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, they're expensive.
What do they look like? It's not gonna happen. That's ridiculous.
And you can rent all the stuff too. They've got the new Honda ones. They've got all the different brands. You can rent the 6-seater mule with the dump bed.
Nice. I'll do that.
I think it'll go everywhere, man. It's just
I'll
summer.
It won't be $500 a day either.
I'll put some
No.
Exactly.
stickers
It'll
on it.
probably
And
be
it'll
half
follow a
price.
Jeep all day long.
Yeah, I'll do that.
What happened to Eric?
I saw a guy take one of those down the waterfall out at Tierra del Sol one year at Truck Haven. Like a 6-seater mule, and he just goes right down it. I was like, yeah, whatever, man. It's cool. Later. Four-wheel drive.
Nice.
Good to go.
So what? I missed it. You guys, Moab 2020 or
Well,
is
yeah.
Moab 2021?
No, I say 2020.
All depends. I got to start making more money here because I got to go to Hawaii and all sorts of other shit that's on my list of things my wife's taking me to.
That's points.
When's
Yeah,
Hawaii?
left foot.
Is that
Brian's
20,
taking you
20
there.
as well?
That's 2020 as well.
As
See,
a s-
and that's fine. You know, she's my sugar mama, so she pays for all that stuff. But Jeep trips I got to pay for, so
Oh,
I got to save up for those.
You gotta, we got some-
David's flying us out to Hawaii. Just me and Jake.
Yeah.
Wait.
Jake.
He's quite the boss.
If you can fit in my suitcase, go for it.
in pieces.
Yeah, well, that's true. We reassembly on when we get there. Anything else about the Rubicon, guys? Nothing that's we forgot to talk about?
The only thing I was going to say was we had kind of talked about before
Oh,
that the Rubicon, when I was originally building my Jeep, there was a lot of things I wanted to be strong but cosmetically pleasing. I
Right.
wanted the lines to match. I wanted, you know what I mean?
You're
And
finally
I-
over that shit?
Well, yeah, over it.
Form follows function.
Right.
Watching the Jeeps have to pivot off the rocks and the rock sliders that were out farther
Yep.
gave them more room.
Love my
Then-
rock sliders.
Yeah,
Love
than the
'em.
ones that were
Me too.
Yeah.
like mine are the
Thanks,
stock
Bet
ones. They're
Motorsports.
underneath the Jeep.
Woot,
Yep.
woot.
It's a big difference between landing on the rock and trying to pivot and just leaning your rock in or your Jeep into it and pivoting.
Yep. So
Made
I'll
things
place
way
the order.
easier.
I'll put the order in for you.
I'm here to shop.
I've got an invoice already for you and Marty. So I trick you into coming into a podcast and then hit you with invoices on the way out. That's how it's done over here.
I find myself, I don't own a Jeep, but after this ride.
We're working on that.
Oh, yeah.
Samurai.
Oh, dude, I'll do a samurai. I love samurai.
Keith
Samurais
rocking
are
a
fucking
samurai would
rad.
be awesome.
I would love a samurai.
That
That'd
or
be
a
awesome.
two-wheel drive Baja Bug,
On
just
35s.
launching it into the
Oh,
rocks.
they-
But-
Waterfall, that one Baja.
Yeah,
Bug,
dude.
Straight up.
Remember that at Tierra del Sol? That
Yep.
everybody was struggling to go up the waterfall, and here comes a two-wheel drive Baja Bug, and it just goes bop, bop, right up it.
But
Right after that Internationals four-banger did it?
Yeah, that's
Well, were you
true.
there for
That's
that one?
true.
You did
No.
it.
I don't think that ever
I
happened.
didn't see
He
that.
barely ran, and he still made it up.
That's true. That thing walked right up it.
But I find myself looking at Jeeps now,
Yeah,
and like not even looking at them, but like looking under them.
right. You're like, what's this thing got?
Yeah, and looking at the wheels and stuff. I'm like,
Yep.
oh yeah, you need this, you need that.
Dude,
And
find
then you
yourself
take that off.
Find yourself an older TJ Rubicon like Marty did.
Build a CJ. Get a CJ7. Hey,
I'd
how
rather
about you
just have a
butt
rock
out?
crawler.
Eyes on your own paper, buddy.
You're just trying to get me to get away from the leaf springs, right? Why don't we have him start somewhere that's not
Right.
leaf sprung?
Well, then
But
how will we make?
you're still not going to do it.
How do
though.
we-
I'm not, but
You
you hear
fuck.
But don't promote somebody to start at the same spot.
Well, he's gonna turn around and talk shit to me too. He's just giving him fodder.
Hey, shut up.
Get out of
All
here.
right, well, that's been super fun. It's been an hour and a half or so,
Oh.
we'll wrap it up. Have you guys back in for maybe after the Sedona one. We'll talk about the Sedona trip and get that one
What
in.
about Big Bear? We
Um,
talked about Big Bear, right? You said the next trip. It's Big Bear.
Yeah, that
I guess
doesn't
that's
count.
true.
That doesn't really count though.
We've done Big Bear a lot. We can do another one after Big Bear. We'll do another one after Big
We're
Bear.
talking about a 3-trail day.
That's
right?
true. Are we doing the Iron Man again?
That's, I think, if Shauna shows up,
So if
It's
Shauna
gotta
comes
be Iron
down,
Man.
we're gonna do an
Because she's
Iron
only
Man.
going to be there one day.
we got to
So-
explain that. She got her first Jeep badge, so now she's in.
Yeah, so if we go to Big Bear for Oktoberfest and she comes down, we're going to do Holcomb Creek, Gold Mountain, and John Bull all in one day.
Well, and there should be some shenanigans that involved, right, with the Oktoberfest going on that night. There might be something to talk about.
There will for sure be something to talk about. Maybe I'll bring the equipment and we'll podcast there. And we'll get, because then it'll be a controlled environment, right? I can actually do something like this and get better audio. So, all right, well, that'll be the next one then. We'll definitely talk to you guys about Big Bear. We'll bring the guys back in, and then we'll definitely talk to them after Sedona and let you guys know how that went and all the trouble we got into. But thanks for listening, and again, subscribe, check out the YouTube page, and subscribe to that. It really helps us if we can move that along and maybe fund us to do some fun projects. Thanks for listening.
This has
Later.
been the Bent Motorsports Podcast. Thanks for listening in. Be sure to give us a follow on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at Bent Motorsports. Stay updated on the latest happenings, future projects, videos, events here at the shop. Remember, guys, at Bent Motorsports, if it's in stock, we've got it.